right, guys, welcome to Tinfoil Hat, live from the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Studios. That's right, Wolfpack Gold. Just go to samtripoli.gold, use the promo code Tinfoil, and you too can get in on this Precious Metals game for as little as $50 a month. Very excited to have our next guest on. He does some deep research, and we're very excited to have him on. He has a show and a YouTube channel called Library of the Untold. Please welcome Joseph Phipps. How are you, brother?
I'm doing very well, man. How are you?
Well, we're doing great. We're honored that you would join us. We always love meeting new people and, discovering new stuff. So for those who may not be familiar with you, Joseph, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Sure. I am a semi-retired glazer construction worker, and I have been into the mysterious enigmas of life. I mean, pretty much my whole entire life, and have been yapping about them just as long. And so I guess it kind of makes sense that whenever I started doing it on the internet, it kind of got traction and kind of changed my life forever. And I'm very grateful for that. I started noticing similarities in myths a long time ago, and noticing that we have scientific terminology for those very same myths today. And I kind of based my whole idea around that. And there's parallels there. But basically, the channel started as kind of a result of a divorce, something to do. But I was sending little clips of things I would tell guys on the job site, but I didn't have my books on me at the time, so I didn't have my references. So I would send them like little videos, be like, this is what I was trying to tell you about on the job site. And the easiest way to send those videos, because email, they're too big for that, was I just put them on YouTube. And then a couple of them kind of took off. So I was like, maybe I should just keep doing this, But other than that, I'm a father, and let's see what else.
That's good with me, dude. I love it. I think
that
it's
works.
great.
All right.
I'm super excited to talk to you. I love your channel. I love what you want to talk about. I'm excited to learn about all your research. I always say this, that the world we live in is way more interesting than they let you believe, that they taught you. One of the funniest things ever said to anybody is, you do your own research, which makes me laugh, because that's where all the sweet stuff is. That's where all the stuff that really lets you know, one, how amazing this realm you live in is, and two, how powerful you truly are. Because if you listen to them, you're defenseless, like just blob of meat that just wears sneakers.
No agency,
no agency, and we're just hurling through space, and we just do this till we die. And then all these little things that really, when you learn about it, like even when like Animal Planet or any of those mainstream media shows show you something amazing, like how that one parasite or whatever gets into a mouse's head and makes it run into the mouth, like that, you just think that just happened. That's just the way whether it's good or evil, I don't know, but it is design. And and again, living in this energy field, and high vibrational, low vibrational, just all that stuff is really amazing to me. And the final thing is, like, man, when you take a look at the world that's going on, like just the realization that it's not Republican or Democrat or white or black or straight or gay. It's really a spiritual war of, the fallen angels waging war against God's greatest creation. And once you start to understand that, you take a little different look at everything, and you start to look at your fellow man and woman as in a little different way, a lot more love, a lot more sympathy, a lot more understanding. And that to me is what makes research like you do and our show, I think, very important and very special. So I'm very excited to talk to you about it.
Well, it's a war on sovereignty is what it is. And that's what is important. And like kind of 2 points there, because I love what you said, because I've always told people our universe is so amazing that there's no reason to get lost in producing clickbait, sensationalist, tacky thumbnails and stuff like that. And you've seen them with the, the big red arrows and the clickbait titles and stuff. It's like that's actually completely unnecessary if you bring real things to the table that no one really knew about. Because you're correct, everything is incredibly interesting if we dig a little bit to the source of how that mycelium got into the rat's head and why it does what it does in the first place, And the other point to make on that is that it isn't this versus this. And it never really has been. If there's one thing that the mythology and the esoteric and the occult traditions have been screaming at us for thousands of years, it's that each individual person is a sovereign reality within their own regard. The guy who built Coral Castle proved this by creating a little universe for himself. And that's the kind of the key idea, is that each of us are sovereign beings, but we have been fooled by this system that's been artificially put into place. And they created slaves out of us by calling it freedom. And I don't remember who said the quote, but it's so true that the most dangerous prison is the one that you can't see the walls to.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, dude. 100%. So, again, we get into spirituality. A lot of people into the Abrahamic religions. I'm into the Abrahamic religions. I'm a Christian. I'm learning about the teachings of Jesus. I am not in any way, very well researched into it. I don't walk on water. I'm not perfect. I have a lot of faults. I have a lot of demons I fight all the time. I mean, dude, I am not some moral order in any way. I'm a knuckle-dragging scumbag, and I'm doing the best I can.
Me and you can be friends.
Yeah. Johnny's a little deeper into Christianity. He went to church as a young man. He tends to be some of our resident expert on that.
That can be a bad thing, I should say. The Southern Baptists weren't exactly on the,
that's kind of the thing is, right. Just like everything else, the sacred words of Jesus Christ have been usurped by some kind of synagogue of Satan. And I did not understand anything about Jesus's teachings besides the whole love your neighbor part. I didn't understand the point of what he did until I discovered the Gnostic Gospels, being the ones discovered in 1945 that were taken out or for whatever different reasons not included in the canonical Bible. It fills in all of the gaps and starts to make sense whenever you hear Jesus himself say things that sound a lot like the Buddha said. It fills in a lot of gaps.
So that gets to my point. The teachings of Jesus, if you ask me, based on everything I've learned, Jesus, Son of God, comes down and gives us basically a cheat code to how to manipulate and manage and survive this energy vortex that we're in, this energy field we're in, okay? Basic things like, the commandments, don't murder, don't steal, don't lie, don't bang your buddy's wife, all these things that I would say are high vibrational behavior, and people get really mad because they have religious overtones to them because they are religious rules to live by. But my question to you becomes, and it sounds like you answered it a little bit, but can it be a little bit of everything? Can and this is to Johnny as well, can we have Christianity and also have the mysteries and the Gnosticism and all that stuff that is it's more than that. It's not just the story of Israel, but a lot of stuff that was going on. Is that any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's 100% on point. To me, when it comes to the esoteric mysteries, the occult, Christianity, all of it, we created names. We made mouth noises so that we could differentiate what our favorite flavors of the same thing are. Christianity is mysticism. There's no mistaking it at all. Jesus Christ was a mystic, a guru. a Buddha, so to speak. And he was a realized being. There's no difference between now. Okay, let me clarify. That's going to piss off a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, buddy, you.
But the reason I follow the teachings of Jesus Christ is because I am white and I live in America. If I lived in India, it would be Krishna for me, and that's okay. Now, Jesus kind of has the Highlander kind of vibe to him, right? There can only be one, and that gets a little tricky, especially when you see his story, was repeated in times before him. But frankly, the idea is, Jesus suffered so that we wouldn't be eaten by these archons, and whenever a man lives a life that is so grandiose that goes down in history as that big of a character, people will start to attribute pieces of their own mythology to that character. And all of a sudden, you've got these parallels between all of these different religions, when in actuality, it's the same religion, but over here, they describe it with a mountain and a llama because they had a mountain and a llama. Over here, they described it with a lake and a fiery bush or whatever, because that's what they have in their environment. So we've all been looking at the same thing, which is that essentially it happens within. Just this sort of it happens within, and we can transcend this physicality, the suffering of physicality, but that has to, like the fig, happen within. And then to describe that happening within, they got a vocabulary for it. These guys got a vocabulary for it. They meet each other, and then they think they're talking about different things based solely on vernacular, but it's all the same deal.
Johnny, do you have any thoughts? I like that explanation. Do you have any thoughts?
Not much to add. I agree. Especially, that used to really bother me, that what you're saying, but now I see it as almost a strength of the Christian story.
We discussed that, right? With the Bill Maher movie, and he's like, this story's been told 29 times. I'm like, well, why does that necessarily mean it's not real?
And also,
maybe that's just the same story being told over time. And maybe our timelines are a lot different.
Yeah, I think so.
We're like, oh, Jesus lived 2,000 years ago. That's what we've been told. But what if it is a much longer, way longer ago?
Also, many of those parallels he misrepresented or they were kind of overblown. A lot of them didn't fit as neatly as he suggested they did. They were more like echoes rather than direct lines to be drawn. But yeah, I don't. There's this idea, especially among Southern evangelicals, that the Bible, not only is it, the Word of God, but it is all that will ever be written about God and that has ever been written about.
That's interesting.
I mean? And I don't view it that I don't view it that way.
That's very interesting, Johnny.
You think they should add more?
Well, no, but
or
I
like
don't.
In the
I
future?
mean, the Catholics kind of have, they've added saints and those kinds of things, and they value the words of the Pope, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do. I don't think it just ended. When there's this idea that like, Bible times, you know what I mean? Like that's when God was revealing things to people, and now He's not anymore. And
that's very interesting. My friend Tony, he talked about how the Bible is the story of Israel. And that doesn't necessarily mean that other things weren't going on. That's the story of Israel.
That's how God revealed Himself to those people at that time.
Yeah. At that time, right, Johnny? And when Cain leaves, right? Cain kills Abel, right? And Cain leaves. Doesn't he get married to somebody? And like, who does he get married to? And that becomes stuff that
Well, the Bible never said they were the first two people. That's an important distinction.
Okay, yeah, I'm interested in all that. Yeah, so he just creates this amazing place, puts these two people in there, and this is his area, Garden of Eden. Is that what you're saying for those two people? to live in a perfect world?
I would go as far as to say that Adam and Eve were not human people.
Ooh.
I don't think that they were flesh and blood. I think it translates to that in a rough way because mythology, all of mythology, is based on personification so that you can tell a story. They didn't have words like electromagnetism back then. So they would use things, leviathans and whatnot. And these are forces of nature that are meant to be taught to people who didn't have scientific jargon like we do now. And to be honest, I think that scientific jargon kind of has a closed off, cold connotation to it, where all of a sudden you're not kind of allowed to talk about quantum physics because you don't have a degree in something where someone told you what to think. So it's easy to think that Adam and Eve were the first two people because it's the first book in the Bible. But that is a really good way to kickstart the beginning of a book of that grandiose of a message, is to have two people, because that's what resonates with us as personally, as that's the closest to home we can possibly get, is to read about these two people who were a couple. That's what we're most familiar with.
That's very interesting. So let's get into what you wanted to talk about. This tripartite. What am I? I know I'm pronouncing it wrong because I'm illiterate, but
It's all good.
how do you pronounce that?
Tripartite.
Okay, so you say reality is a tripartite. What do you mean by that?
So for all of human history, the reality that we live in has been seen as tripartite. You have the heavenly realms, loosely speaking, and then you have the earthly realms. And then there's this fine kind of intermediate barrier between the two realms where we can't directly see each other. And for whatever reason, each realm needs the other one in order to exist. And that happens co-optively between that intermediate realm. So this is a staple in every mythology and every religion that has ever existed on Earth, up until the scientific revolution. So what is important here is that there is mythology that speaks directly to quantum physics. And the fine structure constant, for example, describes like the fall of Sophia, creating the Demiurge. And so that's not a once upon a time happening. That is something that's happening right now, eternally, in every moment. The fall of Sophia is our flesh. It's our ego. It's our separation. And that happens in every moment that we're collapsing the wave function. And this is taught in the religions and the mythology. Now, we can go deeper into that in a bit, but here's what got a little wonky, is that during the scientific revolution, science started paying the bills. And it became very profitable to become a scientist. So once business enters the picture, the easiest way, as you know, business as usual, is to cut corners for maximized profits, but still please the customer. The customer back then, just like today, was the rich. That's who's funding science today, is the people who want science to stay within this particular box. And we've noticed the hard way lately that our education has been imposed upon us by a dark entity. So it is really time now for people to start taking quantum physics into their own hands and leave the diploma behind and start having independent scholars look into this, even if they're amateurs, because we're being lied to. But the important thing to see about the scientific revolution is it's a lot easier to explain the universe to a rich dummy if it's flattened down into one layer, saying that the heavens are up there, separate from us only in distance and not in actual, like a meta reality that precipitates physical matter from it, which is pure mind. Explaining that to people who write your check is going to be difficult. And to be frank, those people want to be God in the first place, so they don't want to know that exists. So we flattened reality into one reality instead of three. And then all of a sudden we discovered quantum physics which is that threshold barrier between us and the Platonic realm that they called heaven. So now we're all mixed up. And that's why there's been a war on quantum physics ever since the double slit experiment was even proposed.
Okay, lot to break down there. So you say there's 3 levels. You said the first level is the what was it?
I call it the Platonic realms because
okay,
that's
the heavenly
easiest
levels,
way.
right? For the simple folk like me, the heavenly levels.
Yeah.
And then there's the material level, which is where
Right.
we live. Is the third one the dark realm? Is it?
No. So the third one would be between us and the heavenly realm, which is quantum physics. That's what collapses the wave function. So a really barbaric way to put it would be to say something has a shape. And in order for it to have a shape, that shape has to exist first before this can take on the shape. So Plato is famous for his Platonic solids. And that's kind of why I loosely call the heavens the Platonic realm, because it's the realm of archetype. It's just pure sentience. It's a mathematical, when we study it with mathematics, and we try to get a picture of it, but we can't quite visualize it because we live horizontally, linearly. So the most we can do is create allegories about it, which is what causes mythology in the first place. But I don't subscribe to the idea of hell, because not only is that very scant within mythology, but it seems to be a misunderstanding of the tripartite universe as is. So it's almost as if the hells exist in the Platonic realm as well. But depending on our actions, words, and thoughts, that wave function collapse into our reality, depending on how we show up for ourselves. And basically, we are projecting our reality through that Platonic realm with quantum physics. It's what causes an infinite notion of possibilities to collapse into this one finite physical realm that we call the whole reality naively.
Okay. What is the definition of quantum physics?
I think that today somebody might answer that by saying things that are really, really, really small. So physics is obviously the study of things interacting. A bumps into B, and then C is the result. Quantum being like, holy cow, this gets so abstract once we cross this threshold that it's really hard to study. And we start coming up with all of these weird coverall terms, one of which is dark matter. It's a word that we put into place because we see things going on in the universe that we can't explain.
Whoa.
So we just say dark matter, dark energy, and that's 96% of everything. That doesn't necessarily tie into the quantum thing. It's just a good example of naming things. But we named things quantum, and this is a bad habit we have. We tend to give something a name and then assume that we have it explained, like placebo or hallucination or the consciousness. We tend to assume we understand it because we gave it a mouth noise. Now, what I think's going on is with the quantum realm, well, let's say we call it that, we think that things are so small that we can't study them. When in actuality, if you look at the way the study of quantum physics has evolved from the double slit experiment to the same experiment that we're doing today with light and photons and all that stuff, the technology has been upgraded exponentially, but we're getting the same result. How can that be if it's a limitation of our instruments? I think what we're looking at is the absolute threshold or the ceiling of what human perception can possibly handle. So no matter how good our instruments are, we're not going to get an accurate measurement on something that's beyond human perception.
Okay, I understand that. I think, and that's not your fault. It's me being flunking first grade. Guys, looking at my exchange on my phone, and guess what? Last play is up, okay? I know crypto can be complicated, all right? And you need somebody to kind of walk you through it, and there's no better place, there's no better person than my man, James McMahon and Copy My Crypto. Let me tell you about James and Copy My Crypto. Does it piss you off to watch crypto fly up in price for over a decade and you've still done nothing about it? Yeah, it makes sense. Crypto is complicated and really boring. But here's the good news. You don't need to know a thing about crypto or to make money like so many have. The copymycrypto.com membership site shows you the exact cryptos that YouTuber James McMahon personally owns, which means you just copy him. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's doing. You don't need to know a thing about crypto or how to invest. You just simply copy along. So let me tell you about James, okay? He runs Crypto with James YouTube channel, which has like 100,000 followers on it, like subscribers. It's unbelievable. In the summer of 2020, he told his viewers to buy 26 cryptos. Had you put in $100 in each one, it went on to be worth over $123,000. Of the 26 cryptos, his top pick of the year, the one he singled out, called Phantom, went up 692 times from when he said, okay? That one call alone retired a number of people, including guys in their 20s and 30s. Remember, this is public knowledge. You can go on YouTube and verify this yourself. So if you'd like to join the over 3,000 members who copy James, then pause what you're doing and head right over to copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's TFH. You'll not only find proof of everything I've said, but our viewers get full access for just $1. Okay? Yes, you missed out on Bitcoin. That's fine. You can even get a little piece, but don't even worry about that. But there's over 2 million other cryptos. Do you really think you've missed out on all of them? Guys, don't waste any more time, okay? Go to the site and read it for yourself. Once again, that's copymycrypto.com/tinfoil hat. It's ended money worries for so many. It just may do the same for you. And we thank him for sponsoring the show. Listen, we all want to look good, but we don't want to pay a lot of money. And that's why a thoughtful built wardrobe comes down to pieces that mix well and last. That's where Quince shines. Premium fabrics consider designs and everyday essentials that feel effortless to wear and dependable, even as the seasons change.
Quince has everyday essentials that we all love here with quality that lasts. We're talking lightweight cashmere sweaters, short sleeve Mongolian cashmere polos, linen bottoms and shorts, tees in 100% Pima cotton, and European jersey linen. These are the versatile pieces that make a wardrobe actually work from season to season. Quince works directly with top factories and cuts out the middleman. We hate middlemen here. You're not paying for brand markup or fancy retail stores, just quality clothing. And that cashmere is 100% Mongolian, the same stuff that luxury brands use. The Pima cotton, it's long staple, which means it stays soft and doesn't pill. And then European jersey linen, well, that's a breathable and lightweight material. Everything is built to hold up to regular wear and still look good. And Quince's clothing is rated between 4.5 and 5 stars by thousands of people wearing it every day. And they only partner with factories that meet rigorous standards for craftsmanship and ethical production.
I'm just going to tell you something, dude. Okay? You want to know a guy who looks good in cashmere? This guy right here. And my favorite cashmere is from Quince. I'm telling you right now, you're going to love this stuff. Okay? You're going to love it.
It's so soft. Too.
It's so soft. It's so soft. Stop overcomplicating your wardrobe. You don't need a closet full of options. You need a few pieces that actually work. So right now, go to quince.com, okay? That's quince.com/tinfoil hat for free shipping and 365-day returns. That is a full year to build your wardrobe and love it. And you will. Trust me, you will. Now available in Canada too. You're welcome, Canada, okay? Don't keep settling for clothes that don't last. Go to quince.com/tinfoil hat for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/tinfoil hat. I understand what you're saying because there's things that are known, there's things that are unknown, right? And we like to put names on the unknown. And
right.
And then what happens is that there's also this kind of predator class, and maybe I'm adding to what you're saying here, but there seems to be this predator class that tends to weaponize the unknown
against
us. And
Yeah.
again, it goes back to what we've been talking about, the high priest of the microscope, right? Like
Right.
that was a really great discussion about how we really have no reference for what they're showing us.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if I
Well,
say there's a pig in the room, we all know, we've all seen a pig, so we know
Right.
if that's a pig. You're like, that's not a pig, that's a dog, right? So we have that. But when
Right.
they're like, oh, look at this virus or whatever it is, we have no actual reference to play against that or to confirm that.
He said something
Right.
I totally agree with. We need so many more people doing research. I always ask people that come in and have these alternate theories. I'm like, do you have any interest in doing research? Because we just, it's one thing to propose alternate theories and ideas of the way the world works, but science as a practice does have value, and I think that they need to be doing it also. You know what I mean? I feel like
Seems
we've
like
ceded that
science has
ground
been
to them.
co-opted.
Yes.
He brought up the really great
Giving it
point
up.
that science really is about rich people.
Yeah, and you're so
And
right.
selling
I wish
it
more
to rich people.
Well,
So
look at old
I mean,
religions.
Epstein. You couldn't have said anything better than Epstein. Epstein is all
Right.
these scientists running to him for money to do research.
Right. In all the old religions, they insisted that we needed priests as an intermediary between us and God. And the Gnostic Gospels came along and cleared that up real quick alongside Hinduism and Vedic cosmology and Buddhism, and said, no, we don't need an intermediate between us and God. We can experience God ourselves. The same thing is happening today with quantum physics, and it's a problem. There's a gatekeeping here that says, don't study this on your own. You're not educated enough. You're going to need Neil deGrasse Tyson's ass to explain it to you. Or he learned it from somebody else who's actually doing the science, which, by the way, Neil deGrasse Tyson is not a scientist. He's never stepped foot in a lab except to maybe ask questions. He's a fraud. But
bang.
If you ask me, a paid mouthpiece. But
yeah, I'm with you.
But they are the priests of the new religion, the new dogma that is called materialist science. And they will die on the hill trying to be the threshold of where we stop understanding things so that they can dictate to us what's going to happen next. The best example I can think of that is the same as the word placebo or dark matter, and it's the many worlds theory. And if you actually break down what caused real serious scientists to come up with the many worlds theory, that is multiple universes, you'll notice real quick how ridiculous they will be in order to avoid saying what is self-evident, that we project reality.
Yes, I agree with all that. I completely agree with all that. And it is like, that is what Neil deGrasse Tyson's job is.
Right.
And Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah, Tyson.
Okay, what did I say? I thought I said, I know when I messed up.
You say
'cause-
Degrassi, which is like Degrassi High, is what it
Okay.
always makes me think
All
of.
right. But he totally is. And he completely exposed himself when he jumped into the sexual binary, the gender binary discussion.
Yeah.
He completely exposed himself as a fraud. And we all know that when COVID was coming out, he was trying to stop hysteria, which probably was a good thing that he was trying to do. And right after that, sexual assault story came out about him, and it kind of knocked him back in. And now he's yelling about multiple genders.
He never went back on the gender thing?
What?
He never went back on it?
No, he was the one arguing with people that there is a spectrum of gender.
No, I remember him saying that, but I thought he would eventually go back on it because he's supposed to be a man of science. So I thought he would. Oh, okay.
You know,
Same with Bill Nye.
Bill
It's the
Nye,
same
100%, dude. He was like he wasn't even a scientist. He was like an accountant or something. Like, I don't even know what crazy job he had.
He was a kids' TV show host. That's what he was. I mean, let's be real. He's not. What was he doing? You know,
you're totally right.
Yeah, but
You're
even
totally-
that, he was never like a scientist. Like you would assume he was a science
He was
teacher.
an actor.
But he was like
he was an actor on a TV show for kids.
That's like yelling, "Is there a doctor in the house?" and then seeing George Clooney be like, "Come here, hurry up, come over here. We need you. We need you."
Yes. These guys are really good at memorizing so-called facts, and they've become like Neil deGrasse Tyson is a savior figure for materialist scientists and atheists. Basically, who will think about it. Neil deGrasse Tyson cannot be wrong, and he cannot lie. That's really bizarre. That's a religion, dude. That's a dogma.
I love this, dude. I think this is
My favorite thing is to read books that these real OG scientists are writing. Schrodinger, Rupert Sheldrake. These dudes don't like Neil. They don't like these rock star educators. They're like, because they do the work and they get the results. All of a sudden, they turn on the TV. They see Neil deGrasse Tyson on Kimmel talking about their discovery and twisting it to their own narrative. It would drive me nuts.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, as a stand-up comic, you can see that all the time.
Right.
Like,
you do comedy?
So, poorly, but I do it, you know. But
bro, send me a link when we're done. Send me a link. I want to see that.
I'll send you a link. You know, but not all these guys. There are really great comedians, Gabriel Iglesias, Nate Bargatze, who are like real great comics and make it to this arena level. But a lot of those guys at that level, if you ask comedians, they'd be like, they're frauds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're frauds. They're demographic mascots who are just doing basic bitch shit. And most comics would tell you that. Most of them will be nice. Be like, oh, he's great, but if you go between us, it doesn't leave. Nobody knows. They'll tell you the truth, and it gets into exactly what you're saying about Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Right.
That he's just a front man for
right. For the textbooks.
Yeah, for basically lying to you.
Right.
His job is in a weird way what Snopes was for a short time, where everyone would like Snopes was the judge, jury, and executioner of truth, and they'd be like, oh, look it up on Snopes. Oh, Snopes said it's not real. So, and then they got caught so many times that their brand is dead.
Now it's Brock.
Right.
Now it's AI, and we catch AI all the time. I want to get into some Gnosticism. Whenever it's brought up, the Christians go a little crazy. I would even say any of the Abrahamic religious people go crazy. We love all of them. We're a lover of people on the show. This is not talking down about anybody, but this is just something that I've seen. What do you think is the issue they have with Gnosticism?
A modern Christian would, first of all, say that Gnosticism is disqualified because it's not in the canonical Bible. Simply looking up who the Council of Nicaea was, who edited the Bible, will clear that right up. So that's out the window. Another argument would be that people think that the Gnostics, what we call the Gnostics now, they thought that the physical world was evil and that the pleroma was what is actually good. And that's also a huge misconception based on what the Gnostics actually philosophized about. It's easy to draw that conclusion whenever reading the Gnostic Gospels, because it kind of does have like in the East, they call it samsara. The wheel of samsara is the world we live in, and it's ruled by the figure, the Mara. In Gnosticism, they're called Archons, So it's the same story, different names, like we were saying earlier. And by the way, the parallels between Vedic cosmology being the to escape from samsara, you got to get past the Mara, is the same, or there's a bit of it right there, but it's the same exact story as in the Gnostic Gospels about getting outside of the Demiurgos, that the ruling class that would be Saturn, because they're guarded by Archons, which is crazy because in the Gnostic book of Ja, it's illustrated, and the illustrations in the book of Ja, which is JEU, looks like, in fact, here, let me get it. It looks exactly like that. So the main thing that Christians have a problem with when it comes to the Gnostic Gospels stems from plain out not knowing what they say. But if you look at this diagram that was drawn, Jesus was teaching his disciples how to get past the Archons whenever they die. And it was something that was spoken to them upon death. And this diagram kind of illustrates what to do when you get there. I've had electricians in the trade tell me that's an electrical diagram, point blank. And the fact that it looks a lot like that, and these are coming from different areas of the world, to me is very interesting. And like we were saying earlier about the question of Jesus, whenever Bill Maher comes around and says, the story's been repeated, so it's bunk. I think the exact opposite. Whenever in the court of law, if you have two witnesses that are independent from each other with the same story, you've got a case now. And this is the same thing we're seeing with this old story of mythology.
Yeah, that was a very interesting point. Very interesting point. So I want to get in your talking points, but so how do we get past the Archons?
So there is a bunch of, depending on the culture, this is what's important. So in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it's all about knowing that the Mara are extensions of your psyche. In the Gnostic Gospels, it's all about knowing that the Archons, which are the Mara, are basically angels that are going to strip away all of the sin that you've accumulated on earth so they're confused for demons. And let's see, in Celtic mythology, there's a very similar one, but they all boil down to non-ignorance. So in the Gnostics, for example, the parallel is to know the names. Jesus said, I want you to know the names of the Archons. So there's like a different level or realm that the soul goes through post-death, which I think the soul is just electricity, but I digress. But that can be equated to planetary spheres or the orbits of each planet. That's why so mercurial figures are called mercurial figures because Mercury is the closest to the sun. Once upon a time, Saturn was the furthest away from the sun. So that became, the archetype for that head archon, the Demiurgos. But the entire idea behind leaving samsara, whatever the physical realm, whatever word your favorite mouth noise is based on non-ignorance. And that is parable for saying knowing the names of the archons that you will be confronting, and then comparing that to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, knowing that as above so below, we are a carbon copy reflection of the cosmos. So those are just projections of our own psyche. This is why when you have a strong trip on mushrooms, it could be the best thing that's ever happened to you, or it could be hell on earth for 4 hours. Because it's the same trip for everybody, but we project things differently. This is the exact same thing that happens once electricity comes loose from the light bulb. So if you'd imagine that, a light bulb is contained by that glass sphere. The reason that we are alive is because we are electrical beings. Our brain is just a fleshy mass of goop. It's all the components are there. You can hold it in your hand, but it's not alive unless there's electricity in it. So eventually that part of us decays. And then the soul, which is the electricity of the plasma of the body, they call it prana, life force, chi, pick your favorite name. It leaves the container like the electricity leaves the light bulb and diffuses and scatters out, where it's going to be coming into contact with God knows what on the other side of its reality that it didn't even realize was there in the first place. So the whole idea would be to know of the other side before leaving to go there, because that's the main cause of reincarnation in both the Vedics, Gnostics, is ignorance. Apparently, if we don't have knowledge of the higher realms, we have to come on right back to earth because our electricity is going to be grounded in things like desire, attachment, shit like that.
Lust. Yep. Very interesting.
The way they refer to it too is like a jump, almost a leap out of your body.
Yeah.
How high can you ascend? Like it's
right. There's a lot of fear there. It's like skydiving,
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
So a big thing, a lot of new information's come out about the pyramids. Everyone's trying to come up with who built the pyramids, why the pyramids were built, what were the pyramids, why are they located where they were. Is the Sphinx older than the pyramids? All this stuff. Your thoughts?
All right, so I'm gonna have to. I gotta give you a tangent, and I don't know how long it's gonna last. So please interrupt me whenever you have a thought. All right,
Go for it.
So there's pyramids all over Earth. Now that's not so crazy because a pyramid is the strongest shape that you can put in where gravity is, but the similarities don't stop at the shape. In every single culture, pyramids were built by giants. If you can find one culture where the pyramids weren't built by giants, please email me. Now, in Egypt, men did build pyramids, but they were the little ones afterward. The first OG pyramid was said to be built by those on the king's list who were giants. So everywhere on Earth, giants built these megalithic walls. Giants built that giant. So we look at that and we say, well, you know what? Those rocks are really big. So the people who found them would have attributed them to giants. And we kind of dismiss that, But then we look at the mathematics and the geometry of these same pyramids. And there's celestial information in the pyramids, especially the one in the Great Pyramid, is the dimensions of Earth reduced by 432,000. That, my friends, is impossible. Somebody measured the Earth and built the pyramid. That is starting to bridge on the impossible at that point.
Hey guys, your dog's health is just as important as your health, and that's why we love our friends at Better Wild. Okay, listen, I've been focusing a lot on my health lately, but then it hit me that I should probably be putting that same energy into my dog's health too, okay? You'll start to notice weird behaviors. Like my dog is like itching and scratching and rubbing sometimes. Roger's slowing down and not wanting to play as much. And I go, listen, these are not normal dog behaviors. They really are actually signs of allergies, okay? What I've learned is that allergies in dogs often start in the gut when things get out of balance internally. It can show up everywhere and anywhere in issues with their skin, ears, digestion, and energy. Just like us, dogs need good bacteria to strengthen their gut health and calm an overactive immune system. That's what led me to Better Wild Allergy Relief Soft Chews. They designed to support your pet's allergy defenses by strengthening digestion and helping restore balance from the inside. They are in the first and here we go.
3, 2.
They're the first and only chews with ancestral advantage wolf probiotics and natural ingredients proven to help reduce itching and support gut immune and skin health. Okay, so instead of just covering things up, you're actually supporting your dog at the source. And we all love our dogs, and we want them to be as healthy as they can be. And this is a great way. Dogs would eat anything. Hand them a beautiful Better Wild chewable chew. And dude, watch this dog get better. Watch its immune system and its gut get better, because that's what Better Wild does, okay? Better Wild is committed to helping your dogs with clinically proven, veterinarian-approved solutions that you can feel great about, okay? Right now, Better Wild is offering our listeners up to 40% off your order at betterwild.com/tinfoil. That's betterwild.com/tinfoil for up to 40% off your order. betterwild.com/tinfoil. And we thank them for sponsoring this show. Here we go, guys, real quick. I got Batavia coming up, Toronto. I got Dallas, Fort Worth. I also have Huntington Beach. The May 22nd's not up yet. I'm shooting my special with Gas Digital in Austin. I'll have those up so you can grab tickets and come hang out. Albuquerque, and then I also Word War Debates coming hopefully in April. But our Contender Series is the big thing. Hopefully you got in. If not, send your video. We'll maybe sneak in. But it's going to be a great way. We're starting a debate league We're going to make intellectuals into rock stars. Go check out the shirts. I get my news from Sam Tripoli. Very popular right now. And we got posters, got new shirts coming. And then check out the YouTube channel. Tinfoil Hat Official. New videos going up all the time. Check it out. We love it. It loves you. Everything like that. Let's get back to the show. What is the size of Earth?
So basically, there are 43,200 seconds in one day. On a equinox, right? So that's just day. So that's the reason we have seconds is because we split the day in half, and in half again, and half again, and half again, and half again, until eventually we got the second. So what they did was during the 4 minutes of solstice every year, the pyramid has 8 sides. A shadow effect that Quetzalcoatl has in Mexico, where the serpent comes down during the same 4 minutes during the solstice. So what they did was they took it's not a diameter, but the cross section of peak to peak on the pyramid, and that's the radius of the Earth. And then from the bottom to the top is the latitude radius of Earth. And there's 2 other dimensions that I can't think of right now in the moment, but each dimension is reducible by 43,200. So that number 432 that we have isn't for no reason. It's how many seconds are in the day reduced, but also it was in the pyramid coded there for somebody somewhere to say, hey, this is a map of our place in the universe. This is what makes sense to be built if you're not necessarily from Earth. This would create a sort of home-based telephone system, especially when you look at what the pyramid did. It was a machine, and there's no doubt about that. So to be clear, the reason we called the pyramids tombs for so long is because when we studied them at first, we didn't have machines, period. We had nothing to compare them to. So we called them tombs, and it was naive. But now today we should know better. And there's wheels and pulleys and all kinds of shit in the pyramid that do crazy stuff. And we found all kinds of chemicals in the pyramids that were meant to go, like an alchemy that was meant to go together. There was something being produced there, and we don't know what it was anymore. And for whatever reason, we ignore what the Egyptians said that they were used for. And that's where it starts to bug me a little bit. So it's pyramids in the coffer text were said to be excarnation machines. Basically, a person of flesh could get out and rejoin what they called the netter, which is the stars, after excarnating. They had a whole process of alchemy. They would drink a gold kombucha tea to limit their amino acids. And they would have this big process that today we naively call magic. It was just chemistry. And they would rocket their soul or their plasmatic electrical being out of the flesh through the king's chamber, aimed at particular stars that they were meant to rejoin. Whether that happened or not for human people, I don't know. But that's what the mythology says happened. And this all reduces down to the king's list. The king's list is a global thing. Sumerians had it. Egyptians have it. The Hopi have it. The king's list is the rulers of the world before the flood. And there's a distinct separation between the two. Before the flood and after the flood, it was a different world. And they make that clear. Today, the younger Dryas is clearing that up. It's making that a reality, that's for sure. But that doesn't answer the question. What's up with these giants? Every mythology says that the pyramids were built by giants, right? Do you know what a liger is?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a Blake Griffin of tiger lions.
Yeah, and they're like flawed inherently. They're too big to breed and stuff, right? Yeah.
They're gigantic. So a liger is huge, but a tigon is not. So whenever a male tiger mates with a female I'm sorry. Whenever a male lion mates with a female tiger, they give birth to a liger, and they're upwards of 1,600 pounds, much bigger than both parents. Very important distinction. If a male tiger mates with a female lion, it's just a cat. It's a weird looking cat, but it's just a cat.
Whoa.
What's going on here? Well, the dominant species, which is the lion, has a growth hormone inhibitor that passes to the tiger, and now the mother tiger, its cubs, doesn't have any growth suppression hormone in its genome. So now it can grow as big as it can until it dies. This is biology. This is what happens when a mammal of a dominant species mates with another mammal of a non-dominant species. You get giganticism. This is very important.
Because I see where you're going with this.
Right. So the only way, now think about this.
Can that one breed? Can Tigons breed? Because I know ligers can't breed.
That I don't know.
Okay.
But that would make sense if they can't, though, because Nephilim didn't. And that's an important distinction. Now we have Nephilim in the Bible because of fallen angel daddies, these sky daddies, right? They were dicking down all of our
Sky daddies. I'm your sky daddy.
So, you'll notice in the Bible, same as Hopi mythology, who has Nephilim too. It's another thing, by the way. Cultures have in the Hopi mythology, they didn't call them Nephilim; they called them Kachinas. But that's just an example. Every culture has them. In every single culture, the fallen angels are men. They're male, and they mate with human women. They don't sleep with the dudes. They sleep with the female women. So it's men from space who sleep with the women from Earth. And we have all kinds of excuses about how that could possibly be. Like that these angels took on the bodies of men by possessing them. But how does that create giantism? It doesn't make any sense. Fact of the matter is, there is a different species of human back in the day that mated with our human women, and they're close enough in biology to give birth to ligers or giants. And those fallen angels they were from somewhere, but that's where we start to get a little off the rails, you know.
But we're all about off the rails. That's where we live.
Well, which planet in mythology is the most male planet? The most masculine?
Johnny, thoughts?
Mars.
I was going to say
Mars. And it's also the one right next door to us. And it's also the planet that we see pyramids and a human face. There's a human face on Mars, and it's symmetrical. So my hypothesis. Now, okay, the pyramids on Mars, you know how our pyramids do shadow effects during the solstice? 8 sides on the Egyptian pyramid. Quetzalcoatl comes down, same 4 minutes of the solstice. Mars has a solstice too. And the face on Mars has a shadow effect during the solstice. Not today, but it did 500,000 years ago, approximately about 400,000 years ago. So if you were in the cluster of pyramids that they call the city, looking past over the DMM pyramid, past the face into that wall, you would see the summer solstice sun, the winter solstice sun, rise above the eyes on the face. That's the same thing we do today. I mean, well, not today, but in ancient times on Earth. The pyramids on Mars are so old, though, that they've been reduced to just about rubble, but you can tell they were there because you can measure the symmetry of what once was. You can see the way the rubble has collapsed. Luckily, there's no environment there to really break it all down, so it's still intact enough for us to see. This is what it gets kind of weird. They destroyed their planet. This is a planet of all men. We don't know how they bred, but it was probably artificial wombs. And I don't see us being too far from that, by the way. But the planet was ruled by men, and they gave birth to themselves, maybe through incubators. I don't know. But they decided to test out science so much that they destroyed the planet. This is in mythology, but also there's a lot of like chemical reactive, like uranium or whatever on Mars. It's not uranium. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that, but it's something that only happens with nuclear explosions or whatever. Something stripped Mars of its atmosphere. That's why it looks like that. It used to have water, all that. We all know that. And something so catastrophic happened there that rocks from Mars came to Earth, and we can study those. One of them was found in Antarctica. That's not even hidden, you know? So what you were saying earlier about these stories might be much, much older than we think. And what we're reading is just the retelling of them is the most recent history we have. I think, Johnny, you're spot on with that. Because if this happened on Mars about 400,000 years ago, well, they came to Earth to find a new place to live. And not to get into it too much, but the CIA documents also show that with remote viewing, Joe McMoneagle. But they came to Earth for a new home, and it was a vegetable realm. And they mated with the women, and then there was just trouble after that.
Yeah. There was just so does this fit into your theory that these planets are realms? Like you were saying, or layers to the realm where we have to go through all these layers?
Both. So the question, at least in my studies, people ask, is it this or is it that? Dude, it's always both. With Jesus, they say, was he a man who walked the earth or was he an allegory? Bro, it's both. It's always both, as far as I can tell. But so they're literally planets because we can see them. I have a telescope and you can see Mars. It's made of rock. People take pictures with their phone and say Mars is I don't get it. But it's rough. But you can see Mars. Also, by the way, Mercury and Venus appear to Earth as crescents in the sky. I'm not aiming that at anyone, but you know who you are. All right. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, they're whole. Venus and Mercury appear as crescents. All right. So let's just put that out.
So what are you insinuating with Islam, right?
No, Earth is a ball. But there's people are in my email with death threats at this point. But by the way, water can stick to a ball. I got a basketball outside. My balls are wet when I come out of the shower. All right. But let's reel it in. Okay. It's always both. The planets are there, but we are biological beings, dude. We can see this much of the light spectrum. We can hear this much of the sound spectrum. And that doesn't go to say those are only the senses that we do have. A person born blind can't even imagine what vision is. So there's senses available hypothetically in the universe that we don't have. So we're limited in what we can see, which brings us back to why we can't measure things that are quantum. But the reason we see the planets as spheres is because that is the most perfect and complex unified shape that we can see in 3D. However, with the assistance of maybe DMT ayahuasca, you can see 5 spatial dimensions. Very clearly, you can see 5 of them, which is always a surprise, but they're there. So it's my hypothesis that if you were to gain, say, a new sense, a universal sense, because our 5 senses are meant for survival, to be clear, just for survival. They're not meant to postulate. We're meant to procreate, eat, and shit. That's what our 5 senses are meant to do.
Those are a few of my favorite things.
Right, those favorite things, right. So whenever we get more senses than that, we often go insane like some kind of Lovecraftian protagonist, we'll lose our minds. And so we see the planets this way because they are literally there, but they're also realms. The entire orbit of a planet is called a celestial sphere, or the music of the spheres. They make sound that can be heard on a celestial level, not to our biological ears, but to the soul, so to speak. You talk about, Pythagoras, Plato, these guys or whatever. But I think that the sphere is the simplest way for our human limited biology to see something that is so magnificent that it would blow our brains out if we were actually able to conceive of it.
So interesting, dude. It's such a complex world we live in, dude. It's so deep.
What's going on?
It's so deep. Do you think
it feels like we're ants trying to study an iPad sometimes, dude?
It does feel like that. And I don't know if we're supposed to know everything.
That's a great point. I struggle with that a lot.
I think there's things we can know that kind of help us understand how everything works. But there's things like that go into faith that is I don't know if we're meant to know it all. I don't know if we're meant to know what the higher realms are specifically, maybe generally, but maybe not specifically.
Right.
Being reincarnated, all that stuff. It's like,
but do you want it? Would you want to know?
No.
Like, at the end of the day, I don't think I'd want to know.
And be out of a job.
Does anybody who gets labeled the highest IQ in the world ever look happy? They always look miserable.
No, it's that Idiocracy, that the beginning of Idiocracy, where it shows that couple that like, yeah, well, we've thought about having a kid, but we're just going to wait until we're, better set up for it. And then Bubba is like just rutting constantly.
Right.
You're totally right. And, again, it gets into the demonic side of feminism. You have these high-end, what's it called? High-value females opting out of childbirth. That's like destroying the gene pool.
Dude, I pulled this clip for BS.
I thought you were going to pull a chick.
Yeah, well, like, my days of pulling chicks are over, I'm afraid. And it's...
Don't give up, Johnny. Don't give up, buddy.
I'm just saying.
Johnny loves his girlfriend. She's a great person.
Yeah, I'm fully occupied at the moment.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, so there's this clip of this celebrity singer. I don't know who she is, but Rolling Stone posted it today. And they asked her what her favorite trait in a man was. And she says, for him to be gay was her favorite trait in men. And then the woman interviewing her said, yeah, me too, actually. And I mean, that's where we are now, where women are just kind of.
Well, it gets into this clip right now that I have a guy cut up my premium content, and he picked like the clip in which I talk about how how in the 80s there was kind of this force field put around certain groups that kept them from being criticized, and you can go blacks, gays, Jews, and women. And I love all of them. Okay. I have friends with all of them, but you couldn't criticize them unless you'd be called a hate monger. But what happens with that is that then you become the most extreme version of yourself. Because when you don't have outside influence. And that's kind of what with women, like, how women have convinced themselves, seeing gay guys making out, somehow that's hot to them when there's no biological benefit to them. Men, when they see two women make out, there's a biological benefit for that because that's two people you can get pregnant. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you understand that? Like, there's no, it's just this psyoping that is going on with groups.
Are you trying to say, like, with two girls, I can technically still be part of it, but with two gay guys, the girls, they don't want her at all. You're like, yo,
there's no role in there for them.
So why watch it? Is what you're saying?
So why be? And the only reason they do it because guys like to watch two girls. And you can ask girls that. Why do you like that? Well, guys like watching girls make out. I'm like, yeah, because we put ourselves in the middle of that. You if you're with two guys, you're running the camera, lady. You're doing makeup. But you have nothing to do with that.
Isn't that show doing well? The Netflix hockey gay show?
That show. Yeah,
exactly.
That guy hosted SNL this week. The one of the hockey players.
But the point is it's all programming. We've walked. You brought up gay hockey players. He is fucking out.
He's like,
he is
nope.
not going to hear about gay hockey players. But that's that. I don't even know why I brought that up. Now I'm trying to figure out why I brought that up. But that's kind of where it's at, dude. I don't know why that was brought up.
You also got to keep in mind that people like sound bites, and whenever people know that people like sound bites, oftentimes we will say the thing.
And it's kind of I'm part of the group. I'm playing ball when you say that. And then she's gonna, I don't want to bash one. We got so many great female listeners, and they know I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the cult of feminism. That's super interesting, dude. Now, do we know all this? I'm not really into nuclear weapons. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't necessarily buy the story of World War II and what they told us. But how do we know all this about Mars? Is it that it's been told through history by many different cultures, or how do we know what happened on Mars?
I think that is a fantastic question. And the reason it's such a good question is because NASA lies. They are no good. NASA is probably one of the worst enemies to humanity that has ever happened. And this is an important distinction to make. So NASA has most likely never been to Mars. They pocket the funding money. They go to Devon Island and they film what looks like Mars, and then they tint it orange, and then they pocket the funding money.
Yes.
And this has sprouted flat Earth conspiracies ever since. However, it's much simpler. Just follow the money. It's in someone's pocket. It's expensive to go to Mars, so you do it on Earth.
Did we go to the moon? What about that?
Dude, I have no idea. I don't see it happening, but I'm naive in that regard because I had nothing to do with it. But I mean, fucking no way. The president called the moon on a phone. How much more put on can you be? You know, but.
And they didn't know the internet was coming. Even if they were working on it, I don't know if they thought it was going to be what it is now.
It's a mess. However, there's what we have to keep in mind is that it's not just NASA out there. There's about a dozen really well-funded astrological, I say, entities out there, companies like who are sending probes and work with telescopes, as well as 1 million independent amateur astronomers out there who can put pieces together, measure things, time cycles, all of these things. And then when you combine that with mythology, you kind of start to paint a rough picture of what's going on. Now, NASA likes to throw their 2 cents into there by saying that they discovered this or that on Mars. Meanwhile, the pictures that they release of Mars have fucking rodents in them.
Yeah.
Bugs sometimes. And then they say, no, that's pareidolia. It's a rock. Well, that's a rock that's native to the rodents in Devon Island. But, I digress. So it's a huge problem. But whenever we have enough independent, and this is what I want the main focus of what I'm saying to go out into the world, is that we need you, the amateur astronomer, the independent quantum physicist, the person who's going to study these things to a career level without going to school. We need you more than ever, because everyone listening here has known for the longest time that the schooling system has been a slave class education to create robots, to produce. This is not a secret. They admitted it. They said when they created the schooling system, they said, we don't need any more philosophers and poets. We need people to run the machines. That's not a conspiracy. Well, it's a conspiracy, but it's not a theory. So, but now it's irrefutable. We have found out that our textbooks were written by Maxwell. So we, at this point, are beyond a point of no return. And now we need you, the independent researchers, more than ever. And we need to collaborate, because all of these niches of science they're compartmentalized. They're compartmentalized for a reason, so that you can't cross over. So we see something over here, and then we see something over here. There's no way for those two fields to realize, oh my God, those mix. This is why engineers are not studying pyramids. Engineers are studying machines, and so the pyramids are not allowed to be studied unless you're an Egyptologist. And what is a word? What does Egyptologist mean? That means that you're educated in what we thought Egypt was. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. So we need to cross these barriers and get rid of this compartmentalized idea of science, because this is all under one umbrella, and we need to stop pigeonholing ourselves into one individual thing, trying to prove one individual unit, because you'll get a lot more results if you look across the street from the guy who's researching that. A good example of that would be, since we're on the subject of planets, would be Venus. So an astronomer knows that Venus cuts a path in the sky that is a 5-pointed star. And we can look at that and say it's very interesting, because it's the only planet that has that kind of definitive shape in the sky, you know. But all of a sudden we're like, wait, a 5-pointed star, that's awfully specific. You know, Pythagoras noted that the 5-pointed star is the only shape that is perfect phi ratio in every single part of it. No matter what part of the star shape, geometrically speaking, you take off of it, it's going to be phi ratio 1.6. All of a sudden we always look at, now that's a different field. But then we might look at time ratios. So the time that Venus takes to do that shape in the sky is based on 1/6 of the sun's rotation. Perfect phi ratio. So the time Venus takes to do its shape is referring to its shape, and the shape is referring to the time it takes to do that. What is Venus associated with in the Bible? Lucifer, the morning star. Lucifer shines his light on Earth, but only Earth. And that shape we see in the sky that takes phi ratio to conduct that phi ratio shape shines that way only on Earth, not to any other planet. We're the only planet that can see it that way. So all of a sudden you got astronomy mixed with pattern recognition, mixed with mythology, mixed with biblical numerology and biblical lore, and all four come together, and now you've painted a picture. Venus is Lucifer, and we've named a planet something after its astrological design that it does in the sky. All of a sudden, you have this big mysterious thing that now you can hold in your hand because we've decided to look across the street to what these other people are doing and studying.
Interesting. So when you say it makes a 5-pointed star, what does that mean?
So, whenever Venus orbits the sun, we're orbiting the sun as well. So, you know, whenever it's, let's say, you know how a retrograde works?
I am stupid. No.
All right. So let's say I'm the sun and you're Earth, right? So just roughly speaking. Okay. So let's say this hand is Earth and this hand is Venus or Mercury, whatever you want, right? And they're both going around the sun, right? So as Mercury is going around the sun, it's going to eventually come behind my head, and it's going to look to us like it's going in reverse, right? Like we were both going this way, but as it turns around the sun, now it looks like it's going backwards all of a sudden. Okay. So to ancient people, they didn't realize, maybe they did, but I digress on that.
So you're saying to them it looked like this, bang, bang, bang.
It looks like, dude, it looks like the planet stops and then goes backwards because it's going around it's going around the sun faster than we can because it's closer.
Okay.
So if you add up all of those little nuances of how the planets turn and you trace the path of Venus in the sky, it's a 5-pointed star. And the time it takes to make that shape is a 5-pointed star.
That is so interesting.
In ratio. And this, by the way,
got it from. Damn.
Yeah. This reminds me of Richard Dawkins because when he wasn't busy pedophiling, he was famous for saying, I would believe in God. He's a famous atheist. He'd say, I believe in God if he was to sign his name in the stars. Well, you dumb bitch. He did. If you just pay attention more than that little girl's calves or whatever.
Oh my God. Shots fired. Johnny, that's your hero. He just went after.
What?
Only kid.
Dawkins? I hate Dawkins. Dawkins, I've hated Dawkins since I was like 7. That guy's such a dickhead.
What about Johnny Dawkins? Did you think he was a good basketball
Johnny Dawkins sucks too. He went to Duke. Fuck him also. Fuck all the Dawkins. I can't think of one Dawkins that's worth a shit.
Dawkins Creek sucks, bro.
Fired.
I'm with all these Dawkins.
So, all right. So, let's get into plasma real quick.
Sure.
And your opinion that plasma is what is it? You say plasma is sentient.
Alive and sentient, sir. And this is actually less of an opinion and more of a, I guess I have to call it opinion, but damn it, like, what are we doing at this point? So
plasma is what?
It's alive.
What is plasma? What are you stating?
Oh, okay.
Plasma?
So a plasma is basically what they call it the fourth state of matter, but that's just a reduced way for us to understand it. You know how everything physical is made out of atoms.
Yes.
So that's a certain number of protons, certain number of neutrons, and a certain number of electrons, and they're all congealed into a thing. Which, by the way, carbon is 666 of all three. So just a different little side note, maybe for
Fun
later.
fact.
Fun fact, you know.
There's the devil in everything. The devil's in the details.
Yeah, and devil in the details, physical matter, Satan. I mean, the mark of the beast. You know, you can't buy, sell, or trade
totally
without
right.
it. There's a thing there, you know. But okay, plasma. If none of those subatomic particles come together, then it's plasma. So plasma is loose protons and electrons charged positively because there's no binding by a neutron. So basically, it's a form of proto-matter, pre-extant matter that is so fine that no matter how dense it is, we can't see it. We can pass our hand right through it and we would never know about it, despite it being as dense as steel. Because unless something atomizes, it won't be physical, no matter how dense it is. We have this conception that subatomic particles become matter because, you know, we zoom into the atom and there's nothing there. There's no matter. We zoom into the quark, still no matter. It's just a field of potential energies. So we're like, okay, if enough of those clump together, then we have matter. That's not at all how it works. It has to be a fine structure ratio. It's the fine structure constant of 1/137. Whenever that ratio of magnetism to light is met, then those particles become matter that we can actually touch, feel, and weigh. It doesn't matter how many clump together. Any number multiplied by 0 is still 0. So plasma is a state of so-called matter that has not yet congealed into hard physical substance, but it makes its own. Plasma creates its own dust, physical matter from nothing. And scientists have not been able to figure it out. Unfortunately, to the Russian scientists who went through absolute hell about this, they noticed that every time they try to weaponize plasma, which has been of highest priority to governments ever since we discovered plasma, still hasn't happened. Because whenever they try to weaponize it, the plasma will leave. And by leave, I mean literally, it will leave. So they invented Faraday cages so that it couldn't leave. So plasma being non-matter, like I said, you can pass your hand right through it no matter how dense, it'll go right through the wall. This is the same as ball lightning going through a plane or a brick wall, because ball lightning, electricity is plasma. The sun is plasma. So that's a good way to look at it, by the way.
Is the moon plasma?
I don't know about that, but I don't know.
Good answer, by the way. I appreciate you being willing to say. So many people they'll just give you an opinion rather than say I don't know. Because
I don't know about the moon, dude. It looks
By
like
the
a
way,
big
that's
rock.
the name of my next special. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Yeah,
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
there's so
bro.
much power, and I don't know.
I don't
You know what I mean?
know.
Like, so
I
many
don't
people
have
are
a
afraid to say
problem
it.
with it though, because everything else in space is plasma. So I mean, I don't have an issue with it, but at the same time,
Are the other planets plasma?
well, yeah, like Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Myanus, Neptune. So, but plasma it seems to be alive. It won't cooperate. And you can read the Russian, it was like they'll say it flat out. They're like, plasma is not cooperating today. And whenever you find dust in the laboratory, you got to scrap everything and start over. So the plasma would create its own dust at the worst possible time, as if it was playing a prank on these guys. So they scrapped the whole project. They couldn't move forward with it. It was very bizarre. So also our electricity that makes us alive, that's plasma. So the plasma, the whole idea of plasma is very far reaching. And I'll go as far as to say it's a sloppy word, because it covers so much that we just call it everything plasma now.
Like
so
a ghost. Like a ghost
Your
could be
blood
plasma.
like a ghost, right?
Blood
There's
is
so many-
plasma, right?
Right. So ideally, in a paranormal world, the ghost is plasma because the body weighs less when it dies. So this is where it gets a little tricky. So plasma being able to create its own dust is an anomaly that we can't understand. However, we have begun finding out through a lot of research that suns give birth to planets. The old model, which is still the current model, but give it 5 years, maybe 10. The old model is that a sun would catch a planet and then it would start orbiting. Where'd that planet come from? Right? So, planetary disk, where'd it come from? Where'd it come from? You keep going. But in the ancient models, which is so strange, it agrees with the newest cutting edge model of stars that they give birth to planets. And planets orbit as a disk around the sun. That would require the sun birthing the planet upon its equinox, its equator. So suns are plasma and planets are dust. How is this any different from plasma in a lab creating its own dust? And then I'll raise you one from that and ask, what makes that any different from a formless sentience of pure consciousness and light called Sophia, giving birth to the Demiurge, the first creature of the mineral world in the Gnostic gospel?
Wow.
I think
was
it's the same.
Super interesting way to get there. I found that interesting. So when you, real quick before we get into that, because I love that talking point. When you say it's dust, what exactly are you saying? When plasma it creates dust, what is dust? Is that just dust as we think it is, or you're saying the planets could be dust? Is the dust plasma? What do you mean by dust?
Material substance, something you can hold, physical matter. So, like in ancient terms, it would be called dust. And we happen to use that same term today when studying plasma, which is handy, but it would also include us, biological beings. That's why Sophia in the Gnostic Gospels, when she created the Demiurgos and she was embarrassed, she was like, that's a mess. So she hid it in a luminous cloud. This is hypothesized to be our visible universe. But it didn't matter. It was still found. So these predatory entities called Archons, again in different, Mara in this language, whatever, they want to eat. Everything eats. We eat physical matter, flesh, and plants. Something has to die for us to eat because we're physical entities. So something doesn't matter if you're a vegan. Something's got to die for you to eat. So it should be almost like universally seen that's to eat. The Ouroboros is eternal. You have to eat suffering. So if you're a non-sentient and if you're a non-formed being, if you're just pure sentience, you don't have flesh, so to speak, you still got to eat. But you're going to eat death. You're going to eat suffering. You're going to eat the mood, the vibrational frequency of a being who is physical, who can produce that like a battery. So Sophia saw this happening and she sent the Christ, which is a part of her, by the way, the pleroma. It's kind of hard to imagine that, but so Christ, Sophia, monad, it's all the same thing, but it cut off a piece of itself, according to the ancient doctrines, called itself Christ, the Savior, and then sent it to these humans who were being fed upon to save them. The only way to save them, however, was to become human and do all of the suffering for them on their behalf to feed the Archons who are going to eat anyway. However, the torch has been passed to us because they're still eating and he's gone. So unless he returns or someone else steps up, then we are in kind of trouble, which kind of starts to paint a really disturbing picture as to why some people are doing what they're doing today. They think they're feeding the Archons.
So your belief is Sophia, who is the feminine energy of the world. I always make a joke. She's the first feminist. She's
The reason it's called feminine energy is because it creates. That's it. It has nothing to do with vaginas.
But I always say she's the first single mother.
Right.
You
Well, I
know?
mean, vaginas create. There's a parallel there. So as above, so below. It kind of makes sense, But she gave birth to a Christ that was male, because I guess to be respected on Earth, you got to have a dick. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
Don't agree with me that much. Come on. No. but I do want to clarify real quick that, how do I say this? This is not my beliefs. I don't have. So one of the reasons I think people tune into my channel is because I don't believe anything. I don't have any beliefs to defend. So if I find new information that gets rid of that tomorrow, I'll scrap it, and I have no issue doing so. One thing I don't believe the most is the mainstream story. So what I'm trying to say is I'm really leaning in that direction, and it makes for a great talking point and worth a lot of speculation. But I do not have any concrete beliefs, because the moment that I have a belief to defend, my life's going to be hell.
Yeah, I agree with that. It goes back to that George Carlin AI bit about if your idealism becomes your identity, anybody that criticizes that ideology, excuse me, if your ideology becomes your identity, once someone challenges that ideology, it's an attack on you.
Right.
So if you sit there and you go, this is a fact, right?
Right.
And someone goes, well, that's not true. Then, if hold on, let me just clarify that. If your whole thing is, let's say we'll go back to flat Earth. Your whole thing is that you're the flat Earth guy, right? That's your identity.
You have T-shirts.
And all that shit.
Yeah.
And someone goes,
They defend.
Flat Earth isn't real. Then that's an attack. You take that as an attack on you as a person instead of going.
And I get emails about it, and that's what's confusing is flat earthers think I'm attacking them when I just talk about a planet. And to hold a belief that dear has got to be exhausting, dude. So far in my life, no one has brought me any evidence of the earth being flat, but the day that they do, I'll take a look at it, and I can't wait.
Okay. Well, let me ask you something about the Demiurge. Good guy or bad guy?
I would equate it to AI. So it doesn't have free will of its own. It's a copy. It's a syntax error of the pleroma. So the way the Demiurge came to be, in Latin, the Demiurgos, Greek, sorry, was Sophia was part of the pleroma. Got it made, right? But the thing about blissful eternity is there's a side effect. It's fucking boring.
Yeah.
You start to get an itch eventually.
That's what is happening with rich kids right now. They're just so bored.
That's why we create our own problems. We run out. We don't have to hunt anymore.
Yeah.
Everything's
totally
at the supermarket on display. We bitch about it's crazy. But so Sophia wanted to create on her own accord, not because she was rebellious, but she wanted to do something hard. So she gave herself amnesia by separating herself from the pleroma. And once she had the amnesia, which is a great parable for us, she started creating whatever she could based on those struggles that she was going through. She was being attacked by Archons just by leaving the pleroma. She's a very brave soul for doing that, So when she created on her own accord, she got her, so to speak, got her mathematics wrong. Not necessarily wrong, but just a decimal in the wrong place type of error. But again, not even an error, more of an exercise. Like you want to exercise your body, so you've got to hurt yourself. You've got to go through suffering and toil in order to do exercise. So this is kind of an equivalent of what she wanted to do. She wanted to create on her own accord. But when she looked at what she made, after re-emerging with the pleroma and then asking for forgiveness, she was like, whatever I just made is going to be an issue for everyone. And she went to work on it immediately by imbuing her soul, or her wisdom, so to speak, it is Sophia, into the bloodline of all of humanity. To be clear, not animals, not bugs, not plants, the human people that were made in her image. She wanted to save them so she gave them her own free will, gave us her own free will, so that we could make decisions on our own accord. And then the long-term goal is that hopefully this long game of alchemy will circle back, and we will realize our source of which we've come from and create that same heaven on earth like the Egyptians did once upon a time before they were run out. So, and they did a good job for like 7,000 years. That's a really long time.
That's a good run. Johnny wants to live that long.
Sure.
So, where does the fallen angels fall into the Sophia story?
Oh, so the fallen angels would be something that happened once upon a time, like a historical event, so to speak. Whereas the fall of Sophia is happening right now. That one is purely allegory for formless mind that is sentience, just pure consciousness, just light, to experience itself in amnesia by creating a copy of itself that we would call physical matter. So that's that. So equating those two wouldn't be a linear A to B to C thing. That's everything that is kind of that kind of mystical connotation to it that is so famous for the Gnostic Gospels and the Vedic and Tibetan. That those are all parables that read like a story that happened once upon a time, but they're written that way so that we can take it in, we can understand it.
So you're saying it didn't necessarily happen, but it's an explanation of understanding where we are as a group. So Sophia isn't an actual thing. You're saying it's just a story?
Not an isolated event, but an ever-present, eternal happening. So that is currently happening as we speak.
Okay. But so what you would be saying is there was no actual demiurge.
There is, and that's us. That's Earth, baby. That's us. That's Saturn. That's everything within this orbit. And that's kind of what I mean.
There's no lion dragon. Is that what you're saying? That's
okay. Yeah, you're not gonna put a lion snake in a cage and say we got the demiurge, right? But a lion-faced snake is a really authoritative way to say this is a figure that commands respect ignorantly.
Interesting. I found that.
Look what we do. Look what we do as human beings. We create on our own accord without acknowledging a source above us. We have a great idea, and we say, I have a great idea. We didn't have that idea. That idea found us. That's why inventions happen and sometimes in pairs, sometimes in quads across the globe. Ideas will tend to find people. We're downloading. The brain is a receiver, and it's not generating consciousness and ideas. It's downloading them. And this is like the caduceus, of course, all that.
That's very interesting. That's a very interesting take on that. That some of these stories may not just be stories to explain deeper meanings.
Both literal and allegory at the same time. Right.
When you say literal, what I'm saying is, was there ever actually a lion, dragon, snake? I think you're saying no, right?
Right. No,
it's the symbolism of what it represents, almost like a fable for us to learn stories.
Look at it like this. The story of the Demiurge in the Nag Hammadi was the Nag Hammadi is in Egypt. In Egypt, they have lions and they have snakes. In Hopi mythology, though, they're not going to use a lion and a snake. They're going for the Kachinas or whatever it is. They are going to use ponds, rivers, and whatever animals local to them.
Interesting. Wow.
Right.
Full circle, dude. Full circle.
Well, it's all under the same umbrella, and that's what I try to kind of get across. You know,
I like that. That's a really eye-opening moment right there.
You get to pick your favorite, and that's the magic of this, is that you don't have to be born into a religion. You don't have to pick any religion. You can do whatever you want. But what's exciting about that is people thirst their whole life for the truth. And which one is it? And they get confused. Dude, pick your favorite mythology, pick your favorite religion. Which one's the most exciting? That's the one, babe. You got it.
It's very interesting, dude. It's very interesting. It reminds me a lot of, let's say, who's a famous, like NWA, right? Like NWA is a real band, right? But the story of it isn't necessarily real.
Right.
Right? Like that to me is interesting. Maybe that isn't exactly what the Demiurge is, because we don't know if he actually existed, but it becomes a real story over time. The NWA was sold as a real story, and then we realize it's just a CIA plant to push a certain ideology. Very interesting, dude.
I'm going to tell you what, bro. For years, you turn on the radio and you hear these songs that are like, they're innocent. They're seen as innocent songs, and they're fun. Beyonce is like, ladies, leave your man at home. The club is full of ballers and their pockets are grown, or whatever. Basically, cheat on your man. And it's like, it's fun, you dance, but look at the deeper meaning there. That's a deconstruction of stability.
Dude, yes, that is exactly. This is what I was saying earlier when everyone got real quiet on me. We have this bubble. It has certain people in it. They're shielded from criticism, and they become the most craziest example of themselves, the version of themselves, and that tends to be detrimental. There tends to be detrimental. And I brought up white people, in this clip, but if you study how white people acted 50 years ago versus now, well, because there's been so much outside influence. You have a bunch of people that could not get criticized because it was all of this. It was hate, it was racism, it was sexism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, all that stuff, right? All that's bad. They're allowed to, and they just become the craziest version of themselves because there's no outside influences. So when you sit there and you tell women, like, again, ladies, you're listening. I love you. This is not about you. I'm just talking about the culture of feminism right now, where these women are yelling out their body counts of like 300. And then they're telling you, you can't use that to decide whether you want to date me. Yeah, we can. And you're going against your best interest. That's your best interest is to be able to be somebody that someone wants to date, marry, and not get cheated on. Now, ladies will say, guys cheat too. Totally 100%. I'm not saying that. But what is the sell? Buyer, seller. What is the buyer? What is the seller? And you go through every one of those groups I listed. They are the most extreme version of themselves right now. And and this isn't to get into another conversation, but after October 7th, something changed. And now everybody is being openly discussed. And I think that's the healthiest way to go. It now comes off as this wave of fascism because it wasn't allowed to happen before, because they just throw words on it. Oh, that's fascism. You don't even know what fascism is. You don't even know. You just hear Nazi, fascist, racist, bigot, blah, blah, blah. You don't even know what you're talking about. You're just now open to criticism that you weren't allowed, that no one was allowed to give before. And it's a healthy thing. I'm telling you, nature is healing.
Yeah. This is a world once upon a time that called Graham Hancock racist.
Yes.
His wife, by the way, is pitch black and beautiful. And he repeated the words of oral tradition of ancient American people who said that Quetzalcoatl had a white beard. and he was attacked for that. And it's kind of, and where that comes down to is they're abusing the word racist now till eventually it won't have an impact.
It already doesn't, dude.
The fact of the matter is that black people are marginalized in the workforce, for example, when they get pulled over. That's not fair. That's not good. That's a bad thing. But in order to correct an error that is that critical, we would need the vocabulary to still hold some gravity to it. So if you're calling anything a racist just because it goes against academia, you have now stolen that conviction from the justification of making a wrong right in the first place.
Yes, there is definitely racism out there. And I think, based on protests and all that stuff, that I believe that is totally recognized and people understand when they see it. But there's also crazy situations in which, you have rappers named Glorilla, and all these crazy things that if it was said by anybody else, it would be called, a racism, stuff like that. There's behaviors of every group, man, every group that have gone without criticism for a very long time. And that is now changing. And I'm telling you, it's healthy. It's a good thing. And, again, what you said this earlier, it is when you go into stability and stuff like that. It is, if I'm on a spiritual journey, and one thing I know, high vibrational, low vibrational, and high vibrational brings in high vibrational events in my life and high vibrational people in my life. And we see a culture that is instant gratification. And I think instant gratification is the work of the devil, whether he's literal or not. And we see what's happening. It is not high vibrational. Take out the color of it, take out the gender, take out the religion. It's not high vibrational. And if you can't tell people that, they become the most extreme version of themselves. So that's not important to this conversation anymore. But when you said that about stability, it resonated with me. So, man, this has been a great conversation, brother. You crushed it. These are some of my favorite conversations. Let's see if there's anything else. Nope. Joseph, why don't you tell them one more time where they can find you? It looks like you just went to a cave. What just happened there?
My battery is dying. So
Okay,
I went from
perfect.
right there.
Perfect.
Right here.
The battery's like, wrap it up, buddy. Great set. Great show. One more time. Tell them where they can find you, Joseph.
I don't know. I don't want to blame you for my battery dying, but
It happens, dude. It happens.
All right. So my channel is Library of the Untold. And something happened.
No, we're fine. Don't worry.
Right,
You're still on. He's just going to your channel.
Basically, that website that you saw right there is a link to everything I do. All of my full-length episodes, and this is actually
You're
important.
crushing it, dude. You're getting great numbers. Congratulations, dude.
Thank you.
You got a ton of subscribers. Congrats, man.
It seems to be going well, and I'm 3 years in, and dude, YouTube sent me an email, and they were like, "You have what we call compounding growth," and I said, "What was that?" They're like, "Your growth is not linear; it's compounding."
Which I've never heard of that.
It doubles every quarter, and I was like, "How is this compared to Y-Files numbers?" I got all nervous, and they were like, "Dude, that's about where you're at." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't know if I'm ready for that," but
enjoy it, dude. It looks like you're getting great numbers.
Try to keep trucking,
Like
right?
that meme
dude,
of that
you're doing
black kid, where that little black kid where he's like, so happy for you. Yeah, couldn't be better.
No, I'm happy. I'm happy anyone makes it. It's just like we used to get hundreds of thousands of views and they just hate us, dude. But I'm really happy that anyone who breaks the matrix and gets through and gets wonderful numbers like you're getting. And I'm super happy for you, dude.
I appreciate you very much, and I like what you're doing too, man. Any podcast that is available to kind of break the mold of the programming that we've been given is I think worth diving into, and yours is no exception. I love doing podcasts like this because I can literally rant about the things that I'm passionate about and hear someone actually reflect what I'm saying as opposed to getting a blank stare, which is something I've kind of been used to before this, YouTube thing.
Yeah, I would love to be at a party with you as you go into your stuff and just watch people just blankly stare at you and just like can't compute what you're saying. But you know what? Little baby steps, man. It just takes one seed of doubt on the culture, on politics, and all that stuff for them to wake up and start to understand what you're talking
and then
about.
stick with what you're doing, dude, because the world is changing fast, like literally right now.
Yeah, it is, dude. It is. It's great to see. I just did Danny Jones's podcast, and all the feedback was, I'd say, 95% positive. But
were you on Danny Jones?
Yeah, it just dropped this week.
No shit.
Yeah, and so we dropped it in the positive. So I remember when I go on Joe Rogan early or Your Mom's House, and it was like 95%. This guy's a fucking retard, So times have changed. It's opened, and I think it's a good thing. Things aren't getting worse. They're just getting more obvious, and you just got to understand the psyops so you don't fall for them. You're not going to change anything. The only way to change the system is to learn how to beat the system and then show others how to beat the system. Buddy, it was great talking to you. Thanks for coming on. Open door anytime you want to come on. And we'll talk to you soon, and let's break down the episode. All right, guys, what'd you guys think of Joseph Phipps from Library of the Untold? Library of the Untold.
You said it was an old tinfoil hat kind of episode.
It definitely felt like that.
Yeah.
Back in the day when we were just in the deep weeds and talking about all those esoteric stuff. I love those episodes.
Me too.
I love those episodes. Very deep episode. I had to really concentrate because he's talking about some seriously complex shit.
What was that word?
Tripartite.
Tripartite.
Tripartite. It was like 3 levels. Yeah, I was with you on that. I was
Well,
as lost as you were.
I only know that word because of the tripartite pact. That was the pact between the Axis powers, essentially, which means like three entities. That was the alliance between Italy, Japan, and Nazi Germany. Was called the Tripartite Pact.
A
Ooh,
lot of interesting stuff.
Johnny,
A lot of interesting stuff. I don't think I used a really good example when I said NWA, but it's interesting how like a fable can become a fact or believed to be real if it's told long enough.
And what's the difference at that point?
That's a really great question.
Because it becomes what was egregore, right?
Yep. Isn't that what he called it? No, he called it an allegory, and that's an egregore. Those are two different things. Yeah, I mean, great point, dude. Great point. Allegory, what's the difference, Johnny?
Well, an allegory is, if I'm not mistaken, like a story. A story or poem that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically a moral or political one.
That's it.
And then an egregore is this kind of entity that emerges.
Fake creating life.
Do you think that? I mean, and the answer's probably but do you think they can redo NWA now? Like these kids that aren't gangbangers, kids that they just went to a private school, I think would catch on. I think it'd be like, no, let's do some research.
There's too much. That was original new.
Well, it's also all of these guys now are that way. You know what I mean?
That's, I don't know what the interpretation of my protected classes thing is going to be, but 100%, dude. Like, it's everywhere. And they mistake their culture for their heritage. And that's where you get into it. And he brought it up, and I went a little too deep, maybe for him, but he's like, you're getting rid of your stability. That's what I'm saying. That's it. It's meant to make you make the worst decisions you can.
Yeah. Also, if you don't know the history, how can you learn from mistakes of the past? If you don't know genuine history.
It's very interesting to me how there's so many different opinions on the pyramids. Everybody has an opinion. Giants, fallen angels. Then this guy came out and he got excommunicated when he said basically the blocks were poured.
I've heard that theory.
Which is interesting too.
There's another theory too where it was they shaved it into a pyramid.
Yep, that's interesting
there's that
too.
one. There's a fuckload of them, and it's funny how he's.
What we know is that Jewish people weren't slaves and built the fucking pyramids. We know that. Could you imagine a bunch of Aries trying to build a fucking pyramid?
Even on the giant one, like they would have to be really big fucking.
There was some big. You ever see people are like, look at this giant snake head in the rock. Look at this mountain. It looks like a sleeping giant. There's people who believe those are Nephilims or of the past, giants of the past. And you know, it's very interesting because we look at these giant mountains that have been cut off and they look like tree trunks. And we're like, that's way too big. There couldn't be a bunch of those. But you're like, well, that's only if we're the area we think we are. It could be way bigger. I know he doesn't believe in flat Earth, but if you get into these ice walls and you go farther back out, it might go forever. It might be an extended plane. You don't know. You just don't know. So that looks big to us because we're going with these little trees. Yeah. Even a redwood compared to that is a little tree. But if the plane is infinite, that's just a normal sized tree. I mean, it's interesting, dude.
That's an interesting way to think about it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
fine.
crazy. If you go to samtripoli.com, check out my dates. Batavia, Toronto, here we go. Dallas, Fort Worth, Huntington Beach, Albuquerque. Oh, real quick before that, May 22nd, shooting my special. Gonna be. I think I'm gonna call this one The Villain because it's based on when you're a dad, you gotta be the bad guy. You gotta be the villain.
I like it, but I also did like when you said I'm gonna name it. I don't know.
I don't know. Right, go down and then World War Debate, guys. Check it out. Hopefully in April it's happening. But we also have World War Debate Contender Series. We already have merch. That's how much this thing's going. 32 combatants going at it. I think there might be a few spots left. I don't know if they've closed by this time you hear this, but check it out if you want to join it. Cash prizes. You get on the league recognition, national broadcast exposure. You are on the main next event. We're very excited. And this one could be just Wild West outlaw shit. But the more we do it, it's just going to get
better. Did crazy numbers. This one, you've been pushing it. I'm sure you got a contender series. I think it's good. You want to be a debater.
Yeah. If you go to samtripoli.com, everyone gets I can't find you this. Just go to samtripoli.com. All my videos are there. Best premium content in the conspiracy world on there. It's just great. I have so many great guys coming on and breaking down stuff. I do some with Kurt. We're supposed to do one this week. Then I do the whatever this is with Austin Picard and Brad Binkley. That's it. Deep Conspiracy Rewinds. I'm going to get back to interviewing people. I'm going to start doing one of those too. I'll go down. Cash Daddies talk about it.
Yes, the world has gone to shit, but Howie Dewey is the captain of a vessel called the Cash Daddies Patreon that is navigating these perilous waters, the modern economy.
What are you, an AI, dude?
What?
I decided to step my game up on this one, so there you go.
I love it, dude.
Come aboard.
Guys go, oh, it's $20. That's a lot. I'm telling you, if you listen to Howie, you'll make that money back.
Yeah, and then
very
the scheme
quickly
of like financial newsletters that is affordable.
And listen, obviously, investing is gambling. You could lose some here and there, but every year we beat the S&P, and that's supposedly big.
Every year. Yeah.
Every year. We've been doing this 5 years.
I heard they're supposed to look into you if you do better than that.
Yeah, I mean, they probably have. Then they saw how he do. He's an idiot savant, and they're like, okay, he's good, dude. He's good. Go back to samtripoli.com. Okay, yeah. T-shirts coming up. Cast Twins, I have updates coming. T-shirts.com, new T-shirts coming, but I get my news from Sam Tripoli, posters, everything you could ever want at Sam Tripoli. That's it? That's all it's up there?
That's all that's up
I
there.
got to talk to him about that. Go up. Nope. Other one. There we go. Yes. Buy gold and silver. Mineral King. That's right. Pat Meltich helping you with parasites in your soil. Harley Ray. AquaCure hydrogen brown gasket into that. Energy. Dude, Chemical Free Body. I love that. I take it every day. Joel Staley getting you in shape. EMF rocks. Dude, dirty electricity everywhere. It's why I'm tired all the time. Premium. If you're looking for a decentralized website, go to Prometheus and then Brain Supreme. This guy's on. He's on fire. Brain Supreme help you get smarter. Anything else?
Hit that like button, subscribe. Go check out my podcast, Extreme Marks the Spot, please.
Oh, yeah. Check out the YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
Go to YouTube. You thought you would learn that from last time. YouTube, Tinfoil Hat Official. Tinfoil Hat Official. This guy can't write quick enough. Tinfoil Hat Official. There we go. Yep. There it is. Right, we're just hit 50,000 subscribers.
Ooh, thank you guys. 50K.
Thank you guys.
End of the year, please.
Help us get bigger numbers. The shows have been absolute fire lately, dude. Absolute fire, dude. Vaccine virus panic. That was my favorite episode. Anything?
Hit that like button, please, guys. Leave reviews.
Check out his podcast. And then Johnny.
Go check out the last Broken Tim. It was funny as hell. I can guarantee you that.
Johnny, he's so serious when you said that. Johnny's putting a lot of stank on it. Oh, Johnny, what does America and Israel look like after the next 6 days, do you think?
Ooh.
Do you think that they just use up all their air defense missiles and then just bomb the shit out of them?
Here's what I'll say. So, Israel has been warring with every country around it for as long as it has existed. Name one of those where it came out worse.
Yep.
Not once.
I mean, when you control the financial system, I don't see how you just disintegrate. No. I don't see how you do it.
No, they seem you think of them as if we're gamblers, that they have the game rigged, but they're the house. They're the house. They don't. Yeah, I don't think they've risked very much at all.
Do you think people
we have maybe we could get fucked by this, but I don't think Israel's any.
Do you think regular civilians are going to come to the United States?
Yeah,
like people from Israel. Like you think it's going to be
like a refugee crisis?
A huge migration?
Yeah, they're already doing
scared.
it.
They got to be scared. I would be scared as fuck if I live in Israel and they're like, we got these defense missiles, but like, huh?
Oh, Israeli migration.
Yeah, like
which Johnny?
They got to go somewhere. Maybe. I mean, they're not going to stay there if they're really getting fucking bombed like that.
I think they seem totally chilled right now.
They do. I know.
What, they're dancing in the bunkers, having gay sex.
That's what the video suggests.
But Johnny, does supposedly 2 million people have left Israel. That doesn't fit into their prophecies, right? Because they need everyone. Cyprus. They've taken over Cyprus.
Yeah, Cyprus, beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's like sounds more like vacation. A lot of them than migration.
We'll see what happens, dude.
Because I was playing poker not that long ago, and the guy to my left, he was from Israel, and he was not with what was going on there, but he left because he was scared. And I asked him, I was like, "What about everyone in your family?" He's like, "Well, my daughter and my son are in the military." He's like, "I really don't want to go to war." And it was the first time I kind of heard the people someone from there was literally like, "This is not what we want."
Dude.
Well, that's why it's so confusing because they all are in the military there. Yet they seem to be. I mean, the government is so aggressive with their foreign policy. So I don't know. I think Netanyahu. This is just a product of him needing to keep a racket going to save his own skin.
Well, then you also saying that he might get at least locked up or something at the end of this?
He could. He totally could. Or
I don't see how he survives.
Or he ends up, was it Valhalla or something like that.
Imagine if
like that.
You're hanging out and Netanyahu shows up and now he's your like bunk mate.
Yeah. He's
of
like,
guys who are hiding.
Hi, BB.
No. And he brings that attitude.
My name is Bill.
I want your bunk too. You sleep on the floor.
You'll think he'll end up in Argentina maybe?
I mean, dude, that's why they're burning it down so they can build all their.
They'll take the game plan from Hitler.
Yeah,
it's just all the Palisades or all these former Israeli
government
officials.
Yeah. All right, guys.